YouTube. So it is October now, and wow. So it's been quite some time since quarantine started. It's already 200 plus days, but anyways, we're still here, we're still alive, we are still going strong. And for today's vlog, we are going to review slash discuss Netflix's The Haunting of Bly Manor, which comes out on October 9. Alright, so I guess you guys should know that I am actually not the biggest horror fan. I would actually shy away from watching horror movies. But since I have been reviewing movies, I've actually been like almost put to a corner, and eventually finally gave in to watch the really good ones, the really good horror movies. I'm actually a big Stephen King fan, but I think I get away from being scared because when I read his books, and then when it comes to the scary parts, I can like do a quick reading so it wouldn't scare me that much. For The Haunting of Bly Manor, so actually when Hill House, The Haunting of Hill House, which was like the first season of from the anthology series by Mike Flanagan, came out in 2018. A lot of people were raving about it, how good it was. Being a very scaredy cat myself, I had to decide to watch it. I had to make this conscious effort of watching it during the day and when there were other people around. I have no regrets because Hill House was actually so good. It remains like one of my most favorite most favorite like horror things that I have seen. So I was really excited when I found out that they were going to do another season. So it's an anthology series, so it's different from Hill House. It's a different, completely different story with different characters, different everything. To make things seem a little more similar, I guess, some of the characters from Hill House are returning to Bly Manor for Bly Manor. I already mentioned that I absolutely loved Hill House, and I gave you some tips on how to watch a horror series or a horror movie if you're a scaredy cat like me. Another tip actually is after seeing the series slash the movie, I would scour the internet for like behind the scenes photos or footages, just to remind myself that it's not real. So seeing the actors with the makeup and the prosthetics, sort of like diminishes the scary factor a bit for me. So it's kind of funny because I was reading up on some reviews for Bly Manor, and like some of them would tell you that you should watch it in the darkest room possible. But for me, my advice is to watch it during the day, when there's light and when there's other people around. So I guess it's for my fellow scaredy cats so that you can still enjoy the series. So I guess I've already sort of like given you an introduction of how I watch horror movies. Before I jump into Bly Manor, I have to say that Hill House is still much better. When it came out in 2018, it's like such a groundbreaking horror series. Especially loved that episode where they did the whole one take, and they were like the two timelines like were in the same scene, same location. So I think because Hill House was so strong and was so solid, Bly Manor just really like had a big shoes to fill in, and well, unfortunately, it doesn't really fill those shoes. Although it is still a good horror series, but I would say before we start that Hill House is definitely better. Okay, so now that we have that under the rug, let's go into discussing Bly Manor. So actually, The Haunting of Bly Manor is loosely based on the horror novella The Turn of the Screw by Henry James. So This novella has actually been adapted so many times. The movies, series, we have The Innocents in 1961, which was critically acclaimed. And recently we have The Turning, which also stars Finn Wolfhard. So you might want to check that out. But despite the many adaptations, Mike Flanagan, director writer Mike Flanagan, still gives The Turn of the Screw his own take. He basically brings he brings the haunting formula to this oftentimes adapted novella. So what do I mean when I say like the haunting formula? It also has like similar themes and patterns as Hill House. So like for example, one of the things that made Hill House so popular was that, well, when people saw it for the first time, they didn't know that there were like so many ghosts in the background. There were like so many hidden ghosts. But now that people know that they're there, so you know to look for them. So it's either A, you will look for them, or B, you will not look for them, which is what I would do. If it's like the type of scene that you know that there would be a ghost here or there, I try not to look. But I guess for horror fans, they would definitely like want to keep an eye out for those ghosts, because there are a lot still in there. And actually, I think Mike Flanagan really writes these series in such a way that they're for multiple viewings. Aside from the hidden ghosts in the background, like Hill House, Bly Manor also has it doesn't follow your typical linear timeline. There's a lot of flashback, flash forward. For Bly Manor, it actually starts early 2000s during a wedding rehearsal dinner, and one of the guests there tells a ghost story, which takes place in the 80s, around 1987. And from the 1987, it's like a lot of flashback, and moving forward, flashback. And aside from that, so it's already not a linear timeline. There are also a lot of characters who are not reliable. Points of view are not reliable for certain reasons, which I will not spoil. So I guess that's also a reason why you would want to watch it again, because it can be confusing at times, because as I said, some of the characters aren't reliable. So you sort of like find yourself in a loop. You're not sure what year, what day it is already. I think with haunted places, it helps that you can't tell what the time or the year is, because it's like you're trapped. You can't escape, or you can't get away from that haunted place. And unfortunately for some of the characters in Bly Manor, that's the case, and they're trapped. They can't escape. We have the ghosts in the background. We have the non-linear timeline, and probably my favorite, like the haunting style or technique, is that when they make these horror series, it's not just a horror. It's not just like a horror genre. They like add more drama to it, human emotions. That's also the same for Bly Manor. So for Hill House, it was like a broken family coming back together, despite all of the tragedy. For Bly Manor, there are actually a couple of love stories in there. So I guess in a way, most ghost stories are like a tragic love story. So there's a couple of love stories in there, and it's also actually about grief, getting over loss. Actually, I was able to relate to a couple of the characters there, because actually Bly Manor starts off with an American teacher who is in the UK, and she answers this ad wherein they're looking for an au pair, or a governess slash nanny, to two children who recently lost their parents. So for me, I could relate to these children, because I lost my father at a young age. I was 10, and children coping with death, really changes them, and they really cope with it differently. So for these kids, it's really tragic enough that they lost both their parents, but they're staying in a haunted in a haunted mansion, so that just makes things even more confusing. There's a line that's often repeated in the series. Death does not mean gone. So I think you could look at it from a positive perspective. Even if when your loved ones pass, you know, they're still there with you, and that could be a comforting thing, or it can also be a bad thing, because you know, sometimes there are spirits that, you know, stay behind because of anger or whatever it is that is binding them here, and those are not the kind that you want, you know, around your house. So there, I will leave that at that. So as I was saying, this American au pair, so Danny Clayton, who is played by Victoria Pedretti, who is an alum from Hill House. So I was actually very impressed with her. When I saw her during the second season of You, her range in acting was just like, wow, I didn't know that she had that much range in her. And comparing her character Danny from Nell in Hill House, it's like she was like totally different. She looked different, she sounded different. The way she talked, the way she carried herself, it was like she's actually running from her own ghosts, and you can really see that about her. There's that vulnerability, but there's also this strength in her character. That's why I think she's a good actress, and she's probably like the best one in this for Bly Manor. She really like carried the whole series with the whole cast and everything. So you guys should keep a lookout for her. Going back, so Victoria Pedretti plays Danny, who was hired to be the nanny of two children, Miles and Flora. So they don't really call her nanny, an au pair. Who she'll be directly responsible for them, so she'll be tutoring them and basically looking after them in this like huge mansion. So they have a cook, a gardener, and a housekeeper. Well, trouble starts when there's a lot of mystery in Bly Manor, like what happened to Danny's predecessor, like the au pair before her. There's some tragedy and mystery there. And we will keep it at that. I don't want to spoil anything, but there's a lot that Danny has to figure out in the manor. For Bly Manor, there are actually like a lot of rules in it, like how things work in there, that can be frustrating when you're trying to figure it out. Not unlike Hill House, when like when the revelations would come in one at a time, it's like wow, you know, you just keep on being amazed. But for Bly Manor, that's not always the case. It's kind of at times it will be frustrating, because you know, I think it's too confusing. Things could get muddled in the way, and as I said, they didn't really have that big wow episode, that big one like they did like with the one take episode. That was missing. And I also felt like some episodes like were too long, like they could have shortened it a bit. But then in the end, you know, when everything is all wrapped up, it's actually kind of beautiful. I actually cried in the end, which is funny considering it's a horror series. But Hill House is still also scarier actually, but there's still a couple of good scares in Bly Manor, mind you. But once you sort of get used to like what the official ghost looks like in Bly Manor, you sort of get used to it. But then, you know, it still doesn't take away the creepiness or the initial fright actually. There, if you guys are like were a fan of Hill House, you should definitely still watch this. Could be frustrating, but there's still some gold nuggets. Yes, again, Bly Manor actually comes out on October 9 on Netflix. If you guys have not subscribed to the channel yet, please do. Thank you, Netflix, for giving us advanced screeners for Bly Manor. Yeah, please do follow me on my Instagram at ika_cheng, and that is also my Twitter handle. So I hope you enjoyed my review slash discussion a bit of Bly Manor, The Haunting of Bly Manor. Once you've seen it, I would really love to hear your thoughts. You could leave a comment and tell me what you thought about the series. Just no spoilers, and I hope you also give this video a like and share it to your friends and family. So I guess that's it for now. It is October, guys. Take extra care, special care, and I hope to see you soon. So again, thank you so much, and don't forget, The Haunting of Bly Manor comes out October 9 on Netflix.